Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. It is January 28th. The East-West Shrine Bowl wrapped up last night. We'll give you some updates on that throughout this show. We've also got Senior Bowl week occurring right now. You've got the practices, which are really more important than the games themselves. We're gathering all kinds of information there. If you're following us over at X or on X at Packers_access, you're getting all those updates, all the articles we're writing in the Patreon group as well, putting together scouting profiles and so on and so forth. So it's an exciting time here. What I want to do on today's show is kind of reset a little bit. We're going to talk about the contract restructures that could be potentially coming up here mid-February, okay? I always say the date you want to start looking for this stuff is like February 10th through the February 20th, something like that, where the Packers could potentially restructure contracts to free up cap space. They may go ahead and make cuts, things like that. We'll kind of keep our eye on that. We'll talk about some of the contracts that should be restructured or could be restructured, I should say, to save cap. We'll also talk about the potential free agents, right? We talked about this once before. A couple of weeks ago, we had this whole coaching hire cycle go through. We're going to revisit that, just give you guys a quick refresher. Here are the Packers that are set to hit free agency and who we would like to have back. We'll have a quick conversation there. We will talk about the Shrine Bowl, and there were 8 players, according to Chad Reuter over on NFL.com, that really improved their stock here this NFL draft season. We'll hit on that. And then we'll talk about the big topic of the day, not necessarily with the Packers, but everybody having a conversation about Bill Belichick getting snubbed from the Hall of Fame. What a wild time we live in. I put a poll question out because you guys know how I operate here. I was a little concerned, like, hold up a minute. Am I in the minority thinking that this is absolutely crazy that Bill got snubbed? I've seen a couple people comment on it here or there. And, I was watching Jen, Gabe, and Chewy this morning, and there were several people in the comments that were like, supporting it, that he didn't get in. I'm going, what? It must be me. So poll question up in YouTube. You guys go ahead, get your votes in. We've also got the poll question up on X as well. We'll end the show with that and just have a quick little conversation about. We'll have more scouting reports coming up, scouting deep dives, as we got Logan Jones, Pat Coogan, Connor Liu, Keelan Rutledge, just to name a few that we're going to dive into here in the near future as well. Before we get into everything, if you would, do that YouTube stuff for me. Hit like, hit subscribe. If this is your first time tuning into PTA, welcome. Thank you for making us a part of your morning. We're not experts. We're not insiders. We're not media members. We're fans just like you, talking Packers on a daily basis. So if you're looking for that type of content, make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe, click the bell icon so you don't miss out on future live streams. You guys have been crushing it, by the way. The numbers are through the roof, over 300,000 views a month. We are now over 40,000 hours of watch time per month. And, we picked up over 600 subs in the last 28 days as well. So it's all because you guys and gals are taking the time to hit like and subbing to the channel themselves, sharing it, all that good stuff, and making sure that you don't miss out on anything we do here in terms of live stream. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Bunch of people in here. We got Nick McSwain in the house. We got Jen in here, Jen Wright. We got Chris in. Let's see who else we got rolling in here. All kinds of folks chatting it up. We got the Freedom House in the house. We got Joseph in here. Good to see you, Joseph. Cannonball John. We got Kyle Hart in here. Belichick issue is a recency bias problem. Hey, no argument there for sure. Paige and Dr. Crutch. We got Chad Inc. Everybody following in. Andy Dubs. Appreciate y'all. William Jenkins. Everybody. Thank y'all for making us part of your morning. Let's get into it. Let's start with roster decisions, okay? And listen, we put this article up a little while back over on our Patreon group, and all we're going to focus on here, guys, is going to be a real quick segment. We're just going to kind of give everybody a quick refresher, and I want to know everybody in the comments, so let me know how you feel about some of these players that you might potentially cut or restructure their contract. And we did update it since, obviously, Trayvon Diggs has been cut by the Packers to free up $15 million. However, this is the list of highest cap hits of 2026. All right. Again, Trayvon Diggs was on this list because it was just a $15 million salary. Obviously, you're not going to carry that $15 million. You let him test the market. Hopefully, you can get him back for half that, maybe around $10 million, if the Packers were impressed with the minimal time they had in terms of having him there at practice. So here is the list, the highest cap hits for the Green Bay Packers in 2026. Jordan Love, $36.1 million. Rashawn Gary, $28 million. Aaron Banks, $24.7 million. Elton Jenkins, $24.3. Micah Parsons, $19.2. Xavier McKinney, $19 million. Josh Jacobs, $14.5. Devontae Wyatt, $12.9, fully guaranteed with the fifth-year option. It's wild that he's 28 years old. He may not be the future three-tech, guys. They may not. They may have just looked this like a patch it deal and go find the future this year. It could be the case. Nate Hobbs, $12.8 million. Zach Tom, $12 million. Keyshawn Nixon, $7.1, which, by the way, Keyshawn Nixon got – I don't mean to laugh. He got voted the Pro Bowl, so congratulations to Keyshawn Nixon for making the Pro Bowl. I did hear, though, he did finish the year with the most pass breakups of any cornerback in the league. That's a positive, right? If we're trying to keep things positive on this morning's show. So, and then you got Christian Watson, $6.9 million in that kind of bridge deal they did there. LVN, $5.5 for Lucas Van Ness. Brandon McManus, $5.2. Isaiah McDuffie, 4.9, and then Matthew Golden with his rookie contract, 3.9. So let's talk about who to restructure. William Jenkins starts it off, says Gary needs a restructure. Go. Completely agree, William. Completely agree. And you guys know I'm a big Gary fan. I think he's gotten a lot of hate over the last few years. That was unwarranted. He was your best pass rusher before Micah got here. After Micah went down, he was still your best pass rusher. No matter if you're looking at quarterback pressure percentage or sacks, he led the team right outside of Micah. But the number has officially gotten to the point where you've got to make a move here, right? And let's just start there because we know Jordan Love's going to be on this team, right? Obviously, the dead cap attached to Jordan Love is $98.4 million. You're not moving on from Jordan for at least 2 years if it ever gets to that point. I don't think we should move on from him. I think he's your franchise quarterback. I want to be very clear about that. But Rashawn Gary, $28 million cap hit. His dead cap attached is $17 million. It is worth noting, though, he's under contract for a couple more years. So even though we're showing if you cut him outright this year, pre-June 1, it's $11 million in cap savings, or a little less than that, I believe. Some people are reporting. If you go post-June 1 cut, it's $18 million. Okay, now what you're doing is you're kind of choosing to spread out that dead cap hit over this year, 2026 and 2027. If you want to wipe it completely off the books, you just cut them outright, right? Now, what would a restructure need to look like? And I think everybody's probably got their own opinion when it comes to Rashawn Gary and the restructure. What would it be worth? What would you be willing to pay against the cap for Rashawn Gary to be on this roster? Your answer may be cut him. I don't want him on the roster. I completely understand. I get it. I want him on the roster. I want all these guys on the roster at the right price, right? So with Gary, the $28 million cap hit, if you can get him to take a pay cut and get that number down to, say, $15 million, I'd be okay with it. Now, that's a big difference, right, between $28 million. So you're talking about shaving off roughly $13 million off the cap. Now, you can do that in a way where you guarantee a little bit more money for him, but the goal should be to try to get that down to around the 15 mark. If you could shave $13 million off the cap and keep him on the roster as opposed to cutting him outright and only freeing up $11 million or going post-June 1 cut for $19.5 million in cap space, I'm all about it. Now, could you sell me on an $18 million cap hit? You could. $20 million, you probably could, to be honest with you. But for me, 15 is kind of that number that I'm settling in on. I want to know what everybody thinks in the comments. Let me know what you think there. I'll go back and read them later and kind of see where everybody's at. But that's what's on the line with Gary. Again, $11 million in savings this year, or post-June 1 cut, you could free up $19.5 million this year. I think it's safe to say it's not a crazy thought that Gary might have played his last snap as a Packer. He's also 29 years old. You know, we've seen the videos that he doesn't look like he's got the burst he used to have. Obviously, he had the ACL a few years ago. I don't think he's been the same since that. So it's just he's still such a good run defender that I wouldn't mind to have him to stay on the roster personally for the right price, of course. So next on the list, Aaron Banks. This is an interesting one, right? Aaron Banks, 29 years old, $24.7 million cap hit. The dead cap attached is 20.2. So essentially what you're talking about is freeing up $4 million in savings with a pre-June cut, okay? Now, post-June cut, $18 million. Whew. Don't want him on the team. I mean, I've seen enough. It would take a huge pay cut to justify bringing Aaron Banks back. Now, am I saying the Packers going to do that? No. I don't know what they're going to do, but I am not going to be surprised if he's back on the roster again. I hope Goody just cuts bait, cuts his losses, Post June 1 cut. Keep in mind, you got to carry that cap penalty until June if you do that, so you don't get that cap space immediately. That's the other downside to just going post June on all of these cuts, right? Now, if you can restructure with him and bring that number down, what number would we want him back at? Boy, that's a low number. It's to me, I put him right there with Elton Jenkins. 10 million. 10 million against the cap. If you can get the cap allocation down to 10 million, I'd be okay with bringing Aaron Banks back. Same thing with Elton Jenkins. You see right below him at 24.3 million. 24.3 million with Elton Jenkins is it's just last year of his contract. So essentially what you got there is 24.8 million is his cap hit, or 24.3 is what it's settling in at. I apologize. Just call it 24 million. If you cut Elton Jenkins, you free up 20 million immediately. Elton Jenkins is gone, or it's going to be a huge restructure for him. So here's the problem. We've been talking about you can't continue to go out there with the youngest roster in the league. You can't do that every year, right? Something's got to change. Well, if you cut both of these guys, you're probably going to have the youngest roster in the league. You're talking about cutting a 31-year-old and a 29-year-old, right? So there's give and take there. If I had to choose between the two, I would restructure Aaron Banks, cut Elton outright, let him test the market, try to get him back at 10 million. That's what I would do. I'd love to have them both back at the right price. But if you lose both of them, then we can't complain about the penalties again next year. We can't complain about the blown blocking assignments again next year, right? The offensive line has to be re-bolstered, okay? Now, if you're guaranteeing me that Tyler Linderbaum is going to be on the market, that the Ravens are not going to re-sign him, he will be a free agent, and Goody will go after him, sign me up. If you can guarantee me that Goody will be willing to outbid everyone else to get Tyler Linderbaum at center, and you can guarantee me he will be available on the market, I would be okay with cutting bait with both of them, because now what you've got there essentially is you've got an all-pro caliber center in Tyler Linderbaum stepping into your starting center role, and now you just need to fill in the left guard spot, right? And you can do that through the draft. You can do that through free agency. To me, that's the perfect scenario. The perfect move here, guys, is literally move on from both of those guys and go get Tyler Linderbaum as your starting center. Now, there's a couple of other free agents out there that would probably be of equal value in terms of on-the-field play. We talked about that. You can find those videos down. If you scroll down the channel under the videos tab, you'll see some kind of free agency title there where we've talked about some of those top free agents. You could go get one for $6 or $7 million that would play equally according to PFF and their efficiency grades and all that stuff, and really what you see on tape. The point is, you don't have to pay $24.8 million against the cap, $24.3 million against the cap for the level of play you got from Aaron Banks and Elton Jenkins. It's just a reality of the situation. You got Elton now coming back from an injury. Aaron Banks was banged up early last year as well. So I would move on from both of them, go get Tyler Linderbaum, go get another free agent guy. So what you could essentially do, if Tyler Linderbaum number does fall at $17 million, like it's being reported according to Spot Track fair market value, if that's the case, then you would you would free basically Aaron Banks post June, you would free up $18 million. Elton, you'd free up $20 million right now. So you're $3 million in the good with Tyler Linderbaum as your starting center now. Actually, you'd be a little less than that because that first year of the contract's always a little lower. Tyler Linderbaum's number would probably be around $15 million if the AAV of the market value is accurate at $17 million. So you're coming out $3 million in the good there, and then on down the road, you're freeing up $18 million beyond June. And then you could go into free agency and probably get one for less than $10 million that would play as equally, good as Aaron Banks. Then you've improved both positions, right, in my opinion, and you've lowered the cap hit for both of them. To me, that's the move. And then you take your swings in free agency. It may be a Keelan Rutledge. It may be an interior guy like a Jake Slaughter, a Connor Lew, a Logan Jones, Pat Coogan, somebody like that, right? But you just can't go out there and do the same thing and expect a different result this year, right? So that's kind of how I'm seeing the offensive line there. Now, next on the list is Micah Parsons at 19.2. Obviously, the $113 million dead cap going to keep you. You want to hold on to Mike. I believe we all agree. One that keeps getting tossed around, two of them actually, Xavier McKinney and Josh Jacobs. People are like, Josh Jacobs played his last down for the Green Bay Packers. I'm going, are we really wanting to move on from Josh Jacobs? You guys hit me up in the comments. Am I wrong there? Like, hey, I'm seeing several people. It's mainly radio hosts, and maybe they're trying to get a little bit of interaction. I don't know. But in no world do I not want to bring Josh Jacobs back on the Green Bay Packers. You might restructure the deal, $14.5 million against the cap, 6.2 dead cap. If you go post June 1, obviously you're going to free up a lot more than that. But I want Josh Jacobs on this roster, man. Xavier McKinney is like without question. Why would you not want to bring It's I don't know. It's wild that even got brought up. But Xavier McKinney, $19 million against the cap, 11.5 dead cap. Obviously, post June will free up even more than that. So, really, really interesting to kind of see what the Packers are going to do in terms of this roster restructure here, or the contract restructures here with the players on the roster. Nate Hobbs, I think you bring him back. I mean, you can go post June 1 cut and free up a little bit more, but it's 12.8 against the cap. Dead cap's 12 million. He was banged up. When he was on the field, I didn't think he was bad. Maybe you guys disagree. But to me, I kind of look at him as like the floor. Him and Keyshawn are the floor. If you decide to hold on to Keyshawn, I'm not opposed to holding on to Keyshawn. I'm just opposed to just slam dunk. These are going to be your starting corners, right? You got to go out there and try to get somebody. And if you make some moves here, obviously you'll have enough cap space to go out and potentially grab a free agent corner, right? Although that's where Goody struggled. I mean, Nate Hobbs was his hand-picked favorite in free agency last year to kind of help bolster or fix the cornerback room. And at least right now, it feels like he swung and missed, right? So got to do something a little bit different there. So like I said, that's just a quick look at your contract restructures and how you can free up some cap space going into this offseason. If you guys are watching this video back later, let me know in the comments, how do you feel about those restructures? How do you feel about what we said in offensive line, Aaron Banks, Elton Jenkins? Would you guys like to see it unfold that way? Would you like to see something a little bit different? We want to hear from you in the comments. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon so you're notified anytime we go live here in the future. So let's move on now to the Packers' current free agent list. All right. Now, again, we've got some Packers that are going to be hitting free agency here. And I want to know how everyone feels about these free agents as well. All right. Here's what we got. And again, you guys can find this article over in Patreon. We threw this up the other day. Current Packers set to be free agents. Who should we re-sign? So now let's approach it from this perspective. Here are the current Packers that are set to hit free agency. And again, we're kind of resetting. We did this a couple weeks ago. We're getting everybody ready because mid-February, we're talking about roughly 2 weeks. We're going to be talking about that window when the restructures typically happen. I want to say that Aaron Jones's restructure in 2023 or 2022, whenever I think it was 2023. Yeah, 2023 happened on February 15th. So I kind of look at that as the time frame there. All right. So now, in terms of re-signing these free agents, now obviously you're going to have until free agency opens to get a deal done, right? So that's why we talked about the contract restructures first. That's coming down the pike first. Then you'll have the combine. Then you'll have the free agent re-signings, right? And we're kind of laying everything out for you in chronological order, if you will, for the offseason. So Rasheed Walker, 25 years old. He'll be 26 soon. Unrestricted free agent, right? Left tackle. His market value, $20.3 million. Would you be willing to pay Rasheed Walker $20.3 million average annual value? The answer is no from me. What number would I attach? I would do 10. I think he's worth 10. He's a good pass blocker. He's not a great run blocker. You don't want to overpay for good. You're willing to overpay for great. Don't overpay for good. We will, if we can get him under market value, I'd be okay with bringing him back. If not, you got to move on. Here's the problem. He's 26 years old, so you're getting younger once again. So if you don't bring Sheed back, again, we got to make sure we bolster the offensive line. Now at left tackle, Jordan Morgan, in my opinion, is going to be a better left tackle than Rasheed Walker based off what I've seen playing the tackle position. PFF agrees. Watching the tape, he looks so much more comfortable at left tackle. I think he is the left tackle of the future. I think that was their plan all along. You gather a comp pick for Rasheed Walker. Unfortunately, he was arrested for the gun charges there in New York. That may hurt his stock as well. So that might mean less of a comp pick, if you will, right? So if you got Jordan Morgan playing left tackle, and again, when you look at him playing guard, he had some good games. He had a lot of bad games. When they played him at tackle, I think it was over 4 games. He graded out in the 70s, according to PFF. His efficiency went through the roof. He looks more comfortable there. To me, he's cut from the same cloth as Rasheed Walker. He's a much better pass blocker than run blocker, but I think you're going to get someone who settles into that. He's obviously still ascending. So I think you're going to look up this year and next year and go, wow, that was a big improvement over Rasheed Walker. Now, will he be great to warrant a contract extension? Time will tell. Right now, haven't seen enough, right? We've seen them try to play him at right guard, left guard. They put him at right tackle. They've all over the joint, right? Brian Balaga was talking about that the other day. And, I try to remove my biased opinion and listen to former players, listen to former coaches, listen to former GMs. And Bulaga was like, he has not gotten a fair shake. Like this dude, they've tried to move him all over the joint, right? And that's why I think there should be a change at offensive line coach and all that. So if you go with Jordan Morgan at left tackle, you can just move on from Rasheed Walker. I think it's safe to say that's probably the best way to approach it right now. Now, listen, if you have a solid tackle fall to you in the draft, like Parker from Duke is one of my favorite prospects. And again, we'll definitely do a profile on him as we get a little later in the draft cycle. I'm going to see if I can find him real quick to tell you where he's at. And there's several different tackles that kind of grab your attention. Like one out of Iowa, I don't think he'll be available for us, but like Jennings Dunker, he comes to mind. Monroe Frilling out of Georgia, he probably won't be available according to some of the consensus stuff. But the one that does, kind of pop up, like you start to get in that range of like Blake Miller out of Clemson. And then, of course, if I could find him, because I had a decent grade on him. Parker. Here we go. Brian Parker out of Duke. We've got him in the 65 spot. Okay, his grade is 57.8, but he's sitting at 65. The consensus big board has him at 80. The PFF big board has him at 102. If you get into the second round and he's sitting there, that's one of those picks I'd be okay with. Now, why do I mention that? He may come in, compete at left tackle, and they go, he's your left tackle of the future. Okay, Jordan Morgan is just going to be a backup, or maybe kick him to left guard. And unfortunately for Morgan, that will not have been a fair shake, like Brian said, like Bulaga said. But at the same time, it's all about getting the best product on the field. So I'm not ruling out that they wouldn't draft a left tackle in the second or third round. I'm just saying you don't have to reach for that, right? So just stick to the board. It may end up being a 3-tech, right? That looks great at that spot. So, all right. Next on the list, Kingsley Enagbare. This one's interesting. I'm kind of torn. I want to know what everybody thinks in the chat on Kingsley Enagbare. Yes or no to Kingsley Enagbare at $6 million? It's saying his market value is $6 million. Now, will he get more? Possibly, right? He put some decent tape, although I think it has been kind of over-exaggerated a little bit how well he played. I think he's been good, maybe above average to good. He's definitely not been very good, in my opinion. So I'd say above average to good. Would you guys be willing to pay $6 million to Kingsley? Say yes or no to Kingsley Enagbare. Okay, yes or no. Coach Lynn said yes, please. Right? I feel like that's money well spent. So if there is a player you want to try to bring back, now it's a crowded edge room. However, if you move on from Gary and you free that money up, you keep Enagbare, which I know there's some people that believe that Enagbare's played better football than Rashawn Gary even last year. That's not the case. Like, quarterback pressure percentage, Gary had a higher quarterback pressure percentage. Run stop ratio, Gary had a higher run stop ratio. Sacks, Gary had more sacks. And I know he played more, so you got to kind of go sacks by snap type thing. Maybe Enagbare has him in that regard. But again, if you move on from Gary, I definitely want Enagbare back. If you restructure Gary, you probably let Enagbare walk. So Coach Lynn says yes on JJ. Joseph says yes for JJ Enagbare as well. Coach Lynn points out he is ascending. Completely agree. And Kyle Hart in the chat says JJ's still on the rise. That's a good point, Kyle. Dude seems to be getting better every single year, right? Jen Wright says yes on JJ. Soder says no on JJ. Okay. And just to look at the age here, Soder, he's going to be 26 years old. So it's not like one of those that, hey, if you move on, oh no, we got significantly younger, right? It's kind of that middle of the road type thing. So that's our first no on JJ. Freedom House says yes. You got to be kidding me at that price. Yes on Kingsley. And that's the big question, right? Is will it get up to 10 million? What's the number that you would say no to? I'm okay with 6. You get around 8. I'm going, no. I feel like we could do a little better. You know what I mean? So let's see here. Wiz Wade, if I'm saying that right. Yes for JJ. And then Jen Wright says JJ can play more downs. Yeah, that's a good point, right, Jim? Maybe he gets in the groove as he gets more snaps when they move on from Gary as well. Could be the case. So Andy Dubb said he's a good anchor, but not 10. Okay, got it. Page and Dr. Crutch, yes, at that price, yes. So I think everybody agrees pretty much, maybe just other than one or two, right? Now here's Soder. Soder was one that said no, right? Soder said no. Here's his reason. I want Sorrell to get more snaps. Can't argue with that. Baron Sorrell, when I turn on the tape with JJ Enagbare and Baron Sorrell, I feel like Enagbare is a little bit better than Sorrell, but that was Sorrell's first year, right? Where JJ Enagbare was his rookie year and where Baron Sorrell was his rookie year is like, if you were to compare just rookie year to rookie year, I feel like Sorrell is significantly better, me personally, right? And you guys know, if you were following the show back when JJ Enagbare was drafted, it was my first draft coverage I did for PackerNet. Me and Ryan did a live stream. I was big on him. I was saying the Packers should have drafted him for 2 straight rounds. Like, he was the highest guy on my board the whole time. So with all that being said, for the right price, yes, bring him back. But I love what Soder says there, because, again, you're talking about progress stoppers. If you bring back JJ Enagbare, it means less snaps for Baron Sorrell, less snaps for Colin Oliver, right? Or less snaps for Enagbare, who might be making $6 to $8 million per, right? So I think, yeah, looking at the chat now, everybody's kind of agreeing, right? Yeah, everybody's saying they agree with that. So Kyle says, I agree, $8 million is a tad rich. Rather give Sorrell more snaps in that scenario, right? You got Jen Wright says, I agree with that. So good morning, Mike. Appreciate you swinging through, buddy. Andy Dubs says, not for $10 million, I'm in. Okay, got it. Joseph says, more snaps for Sorrell. So if you had to choose, right? So great point there, Solder. Great point. So there's Enagbare. Next, Romeo Doubs. They're showing the market value at $12 million. I've heard some people say $15 million. I've heard others say he may get close to $20 million. And then I've heard some say he's not worth $10 million. I keep falling on $10 million with most of these numbers. If you notice, if you can get Romeo Doubs back at $10 million average annual value, that means the first year cap hit's going to be about $8 million. If you can get him on a 3-year deal, right, guarantee a little bit more money, a 3-year deal that you can get out of after 2 years, then what will happen is when you extend Christian Watson to his big contract, you'll be able to manipulate everything to where you'll be able to move on from Romeo Doubs, right? You can do a 3 that's really a 1, or you can do a 3 that's really a 2 and make that cap work within the modeling of the wide receiver room. You got to be thinking about Jaden Reed as well. So really the question becomes, which receiver would you rather have moving forward, Romeo Doubs or Jaden Reed? For me, it's Jaden Reed, because Romeo plays, he doesn't play F, he doesn't play slot, that moving slot position for Matt LaFleur's offense. So I would rather see Matthew Golden. This is kind of like the Enagbare talk, right? We want Enagbare back, right? We think he's a good football player, at least above average football player. But would you want him back at the expense of Baron Sorrell getting minimal snaps? Probably not, right? Same thing with Romeo Doubs. If we could get him back at $8 million, that's great, right? Or $10 million, that's great. But if you do that at the expense of Matthew Golden getting less snaps, me no likey that. That's why it feels like Romeo Doubs is probably you're probably on your way out, unfortunately. And I think Dobby's been a good Packer, man. For a 5th-round pick, my guy, I think he was 5th, right? 5th or 6th-round pick. My goodness, that's great value by Brian Gutekunst there. So really, those are the 3 that you're looking at. Those are the 3 big names: Rasheed Walker, Kingsley Enagbare, Romeo Doubs. Outside of that, you got Zane Anderson, Nick Neiman, Sean Ryan. Sean Ryan's an interesting one at $6.5 million. If you could get him for $6.5 million, I'd be okay with bringing him back. Your roster stays a little more veteran. You got a guy with backup center experience. Now, will his number jump? I've seen some people say he'll crack the 10 million mark. I don't know about that. Based off what we've seen on tape, he's a good run blocker. I think it's safe to say he's a bad pass blocker. At least maybe this is a better way of putting it. He's a good run, above average to good run blocker. He's a below average to bad pass blocker, right? So you know what you got there, but you got that experience at center. Now you've got Jacob Monk behind him. He graded out well, albeit just 40 or 50 snaps, whatever it is, right? So I'm okay with bringing Ryan back, because if you get him at $6.5 million, I mean, you're talking about the first year cap hit being somewhere between $3 and $5 million. I think it's worth it to have a guy who probably going to potentially, that's another guy that might play left guard for you, right? If you find yourself in a pinch, if you do move on from Aaron Banks and Elton Jenkins. So going to be really interesting to see how everything unfolds with these future free agents for sure. So if you guys are watching this video back later, let me know in the comments, how do you feel about the future free agents that we just talked about? Let me know if you want them back. Again, those names are Rasheed Walker, Enagbare, Romeo Doubs, Sean Ryan. Let's leave it at that, okay? Enagbare, Rasheed Walker, Romeo Doubs, and Sean Ryan. Let me know in the comments, do you want them back or not? Make sure you hit like, subscribe, click the bell icon so you don't miss out on future live streams like this one. All right, let's move along, guys, and talk now a little draft prospects. Y'all good with that? Everybody all right? We talk a little NFL draft? Because we're, again, just to kind of recap, what we're doing here is we are contract restructures February 15th. We're going to keep an eye out for that, right? Re-signing Packer future free agents here, that's going to happen probably early to mid-March as you approach the free agency deadline, okay? And then, of course, at the end of February, let me rewind, you're going to have the combine coverage. So we'll be updating our draft board with that. And everybody reaching out in the DMs about the draft board, thank you all so much for the kind words. It's a blast building that. Emilio helping make sure you get the link in there. We've been throwing information in like crazy. And we'll explain what we added here with the Shrine Bowl and what we're going to do the same thing with the Senior Bowl as well. But you'll have the combine at the end of February, and then the draft coverage will ramp up into free agency. And then bang, when April gets here, it's going to be the top 30 visits. And every time we have a top 30 visit, we will do an extreme deep dive into that prospect's background, exactly what the Packers are looking at there in terms of a prospect. Joseph in the chat says, mock, LOL. We'll do another one soon. We may do one this afternoon. I'm going to see if I can get the guys together and we can do a mock draft together, because that video did really, really well here on YouTube. And I think people really enjoy that if you do it in the right manner, if it's not long and drawn out, right? We were able to do in 17 minutes a 4-round mock draft, which was actually 3 picks for the Packers. If we could do that again, I think that's kind of the format to use. So with that being said, again, I see we got somebody here, Pac-Man over on Rumble, came in and said he's called Bill Belichick for a reason. So evidently he's seen the poll question. Everybody get your votes in, okay? We're going to talk about that here shortly, where we're going to dive into the Bill Belichick saga, that is. And I'm really interested to see what everybody votes